Sustainable Concordia has been around since 2002, and the organization has always been mandated to focus on the three pillars of sustainability: environmental, social, and economic. So throughout the past 10 plus years, there has been many different working groups. Some have focused on food, some have not. R4 is probably our biggest legacy. R4 is Rethink, Reduce, Reuse, Recycle, and it did a lot on waste justice, specifically composting and waste audits. So many waste audits were done between 2009-ish to 2013. Faisal Shanib, who is now our environmental coordinator of the university, was a huge player in doing those waste audits and reporting those metrics. And it showed that Concordia diverts, on average, 65% of its waste appropriately, and all of that kind of stuff was great. And something that came out of the R4 project was the Loyola composter. So we were the first university in Quebec to have its own composting facility, which was really huge at the time. And it was medium sized, so I don't know the specifics around it. It's since been taken over by the university, and it's non-functional right now, which is unfortunate. Unfortunately, it wasn't taken care of to the best of its ability. There was, I think, a lot of education opportunities missed, and so the compost is still there, but it's rusted and not working. But that's something big that Sustainable Concordia played a huge role in. The education campaign going into compost, putting that composter in. As well, there was a vermicompost program since the 90s that started with the CSU and then was taken over by Sustainable Concordia. So waste and compost was a huge one that had to do with food. There was also the Sustainable Food Systems project, which unfortunately didn't have a very long life, but the life that it did have was very vibrant. It was established in 2010, 2011. Cameron Stiff, who's already spoken about this project, was very involved. They had a really awesome food fair that was held over on the Reggie's Terrace. They started the original business plan for the Hive Cafe, which didn't get started past the business plan, but it was still really encouraging to look back at that kind of development and see that it was there. They did a lot of research. There was a lot of interns that worked for Sustainable Concordia and the CSU to do a lot of research on food justice and food sovereignty and sustainable food systems. And that research lives on. It's still in the annex, still available for people to see. I believe it influenced the Concordia Food Coalition quite a bit as well. Other food initiatives, something that's still standing and is really taking off this year especially, is the R4 Dish Project, which is a project to provide groups and folks on campus and off campus actually as well with reusable dishes so that we can help divert waste from going to the landfill. I know it doesn't directly have to do with food per se, but you eat food on dishes or in dishes, so we like to relate it to the food system quite a bit. And so among all of those other things, there were other working groups like Alley Go, which focused on biking and walking and incorporating different types of active transportation initiatives on campus in the form of workshops and just general engagement opportunities. They had a Spring into Gear 2 years ago, which just taught bike mechanic stuff, easy DIY fixes for your bike, and empowering people to bike in the city. It's very scary to bike in the city. Very scary to bike in the city. So like teaching people what their rights are as bikers and how to bike safely in the winter and in the summer and all of that kind of stuff. Right now we have a working group that is Climate Justice Montreal, which is known throughout Montreal and throughout Canada and North America for its work on climate justice. So we're working on a plan to get them set up financially and autonomously outside of Sustainable Concordia, although we hope to maintain a working relationship with them as well. And trying to think of other food things. The greenhouse. How could I forget the greenhouse? The greenhouse was has a very long and interesting history. But in the early 2000s, folks from Sustainable Concordia, along with people from the Concordia Student Union, worked to reappropriate the greenhouse into a working space, because the administration was planning to take it down. The biology students and geography department used it for a really long time for studies, and then all of their stuff was moved to the Loyola campus. So then the administration was like, okay, well, let's get rid of it. But there was a big student movement that said, well, no, we should keep this and turn it into a growing space for our community. So after a few years of cleaning up the space and turning the atrium into what it is now, it started to grow seedlings for people in the community, and acted as a place for to learn about sustainable food systems and growing food in the city, urban agriculture, and all of that kind of stuff. And now the greenhouse is a force to be reckoned with. They have amazing workshops all the time. The people who work in that greenhouse are amazing people. The City Farm School has branched off of them as well, which still maintains close ties with Sustainable Concordia. We help them with a bit of funding. We also help them with workspace when they need it. And so the greenhouse was originally a working group of Sustainable Concordia in the early days, and now they've obviously broken off into their own huge, amazing own entity.